Welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to share with you my Shiranui's deck profile. Now Shiranui's is a very interesting zombie deck in my opinion. It's kind of like a middle of the road zombie deck, which is kind of like not as bad as something like my Akashi or even Vampires, but not as good as like, pure Zombie World. It's kind of like a little bit of a worst version of Zombie World, but very, very fun. So if you want to play Zombie World for a more casual version, this is pretty much the deck list for you. And it's a deck that is very, very fun and I enjoy it, and unfortunately didn't get the best support in Savage Strike, but it still gets something nonetheless. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that, and before we jump right into the video itself, I'm going to remind you that if you want to help the channel see more videos like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button, as well as give a like if you enjoyed the video, and let me know in the comments down below how can you improve this deck, as well as just in general, what are your thoughts. But without further ado, let's jump right into the video itself. Alright, so starting things off with the list itself, I'm going to start things off with the Shiranui monsters, obviously, which are going to start with the triple copies of Shiranui Solitaire, the double copies of Shiranui Squire, the one copy of Shiranui Samurai, and then the one copy of Shiranui Spirit Master, as well for our tuners, the one copy of Shade, and the one copy of the original Spectral Sword. This is pretty much a very, very standard Shiranui lineup for me, specifically, kind of like for the most part. Now, this is the lineup I decided to go with, which is these 10 monsters. Shiranui Solitaire doesn't really need a whole lot of explanation. You tribute it and you summon a zombie with 0 defense from your deck. That is the tuner, which can be either these, or Glow-Up Bloom, or mostly and often than not, Unizombie. Pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory, doesn't really need any explanation. However, the secondary effect of Shiranui Solitaire actually comes a lot into clutch when it comes to running actually Shiranuis as a whole, because it has another effect that when it gets banished, you get the ability to summon any Shiranui from your banished zone except itself. Basically, you're able to summon all of these back, which is pretty cool. You have Shiranui Squire, which is allowing you a normal summon to basically summon these two from your hand or deck. You're able to summon one of these two, but you lock yourself into zombies, which is kind of sucks. But the advantage of this card is that if this card gets banished, you get to draw and discard a card, which is very, very good, because you are able to maybe dig deeper into your deck and discard something you want to your graveyard. Then we have Samurai, which is honestly one of the better ones, to be honest. This one can banish a zombie from your graveyard and become a 2400 beat stick, which is actually really good for a level 4, and very important in simplified game states. You're able to just make this card really big and take the advantage of the banish effects with the effects in the graveyard. And then the other effect of the effect is, and the important one, is that if this card gets banished, you get to target one Shiranui monster in your graveyard, except itself, and add it to your hand, which is very, very nice, because you can just, like, for example, banish it, have a Shiranui Solitaire in the graveyard, and then get it back to your hand. Then we have Spirit Master, which is a card that I debated to run more than one, but the more and more I play with it, I realize why I only need one, because, honestly, the additional, normal summoning, or should I say special summoning of a Shiranui monster after you normal summon this is pretty nice, but even with running all of these, and even, like, running a lot of them, basically I realize more and more that it's, like, it's not worth it for this deck to do such a thing. Even though it's kind of like giving you the kind of like combo that you're able to do, it's kind of like, it's nice, but it's also kind of problematic because sometimes you're not able to kind of take advantage of this. So it's like, it's very good as a whole, but I'm not really 100% sure about this. So this is a good card, but the problem is, like, there are hand traps that can just stop this, and there are also prevalent hand traps in things like Effect Veiler and what are called Infinite Permanents that are even more prevalent now. If we weren't in a different format, I would definitely run this card at 2 or 3 because of the special summoning on the hand, but because we're prevalent in a format that just you have a lot of hand traps that just stop an effect like this immediately, this can lock you and can be bad, but it's still a very, very good card, because when this card gets banished, you're able to pop a card. It's pretty that simple. I love this card a lot. And then for these two cards, this one is actually surprisingly a lot better than this in this deck, because you are able to get this to the graveyard if you already have Glow-Up Bloom, so you get an additional, like, tuner out of your deck with Haki Fibrax, and then it's giving you the ability to kind of, like, next turn to have, like, banish one of the level 4s and get a level 6 Synchro, or banish something else and then get a Synchro that you want to for the situation, which is actually really good, because having the additional push is actually very, very nice. And then Shade is nice, I guess. It's more of like a nice top deck, or like if you have Squire, you're able to return 2 zombies from your banish. One of them have to be a Shiranui. Very, very nice, but it's more of like, it's an additional way to maybe kind of like help you OTK with the Squire or like clear the board, or just getting advantage as a whole. But that's pretty much does it for the Shiranui monsters. Honestly, I need to talk about these for a little bit because they need a little bit of explanation. The rest of the monsters, however, are a little bit more simple, because the next lineup of monsters is the Zombie Worlds, which is 2 Doom King, Belderoach, and then 2 Necrowold Banshee, and then obviously the 2 copies of Glow Up Bloom, because this is a Zombie World engine. You want to run 2 of each of these. And the more and more I play with this deck, the more and more I realize why this engine is necessary, because I tried to play this deck without these, with like a Lightsworn deck, with like a Vendred's engine, with just like different things. But the more and more I play with these, I realize what the advantages that these cards give you. Now, of course, you can run less than these, but the more and more I played with these, I realized that I need 2 of each, because this one, in case of you, like your opponent kind of like banishing one, you still want the second. This one and this one is because you want to see them more redundant in your hand, or have the ability to just like send them to the graveyard. If you draw into one and you're not able to get into the graveyard, you still have the ability to send the other one and just like do the things. Because getting the Zombie World is really important, and then getting the the Belderoach or the Jacobolin is also very, very important for the deck. Very, very simple, very self-explanatory. I think this engine is very, very powerful. You can decide to cut it down and run something else, but I feel like Zombie World just does a whole lot for this deck, and I love this engine quite a bit. And then for the last zombie stuff, Unizombie, Jacobolin is a 2-off, Mizuki, and then the 2 copies of Gozuki. Yeah, I don't really think I need to super explain these. Unizombie is absolutely ridiculous, a very, very good card, and just like a 1 card by itself to do your kind of like combo in a way, as long as you have Zombie World on the field. I guess that's kind of like a 2-card combo, but regardless, the point is, Unizombie is a good card. It's very, very good. It's able to dump things into your graveyard that you want to, from zombies, and also things out of your hand if you need to, so that's also very, very great. Jacobolin, free discard, another kind of like interruptions, very, very good. Mizuki is a Monster Reborn, and then Gozuki in this deck is actually even better than the original Zombie World deck, or should I say like the other Zombie World deck, which is kind of like, I would say right now, or like normal Zombie World deck is definitely the better deck as a whole, but Gozuki in this deck is a lot better because you have a lot of Shiranui's effect in the graveyard. You have 4 effects in the graveyard that if they're in the graveyard and this hits the graveyard, it can banish one of them and then help you trigger their effects, which giving you the additional advantage that you need to. So for example, if you already have a Shiranui that is banished, you can use this effect after it hits the graveyard to banish the Solitaire, summon that Shiranui monster back, which giving you another extension. Or you can draw and discard a card. Very, very good. I like Gozuki a lot, and it's another starter by itself. And then for the last 3 or 4 monsters, should I say, I run, instead of Hand Trap, this lovely engine, which I'm actually considering to run even in like normal Zombie World deck, and that is the, well, Danger Engine, as you can see to your face. Basically, these are really, really good. I don't think I need to super explain these, but you all know what they do. They're really, really powerful, and the reason why I like them in this deck is because this deck needs the additional extender more than you realize. It's not like a normal Zombie World deck that you can just play into control, because you run a lot of things that are a little bit different. So having the additional kind of like extenders that either allow you to go into link monsters and maybe discard more zombies is actually very, very powerful. Definitely can be cuttable cards, and you can run a 3rd Jacobolin and then 3 Ash Blossom, but I felt like these just giving you the additional bodies that you need. Now, of course, they're not zombies, but I like these. Definitely, again, you can cut these if you want to, but I think they're pretty necessary. But that's pretty much does it for the monsters. Now we'll move on into the spells, and for the spells, we're going to start with the most obvious ones. Zombie World is a free off. Terraforming is a 1-off. I don't think I need to explain this. You want to see Zombie World? It's very, very important. It's giving you a lot of advantage. Basically, it's a very, very good card, and even like if you're not able to get into a Glow Up Bloom or the, what her name is, Necrowold Banshee or whatever thing that you want to do, it's still a very, very good card to have because it just stops your opponent from doing things. And since we also run things like Super Poly, which we'll get into a second, it's still a very, very good card. So having this card is very, very good, and you want to have this in your hand or field as soon as possible. We technically run kind of like 6 copies of it if you only count the Banshee and nothing else. So yeah, this is a very, very important card, and you want to see it. Very, very good. And then for the additional spells that I run, and the only 5 spells that I like to run, like I mentioned, 3 copies of Super Poly, and then 1 Foolish Burial and 1 copy of Gold Sarcophagus. This is the last lineup of spells that I run. which I felt like it's very, very important. Super Poly, like I said, is very, very good in this deck because of Zombie World, and just in general is a nice like way to break boards. And then Foolish Burial is because, you know, zombie. And then Gold Sarcophagus is a card that could be cut down for Monster Reborn or something like that. But I like this card as a whole more because it just fits more to the theme of banishing your Shiranuis and taking advantage of their effects. Now, one thing that probably some people are going to ask me is, where is the Shiranui Story spell card? And I'm going to say this right now, that card is not good. I like the card a lot as a, you know, as an idea, but the problem with the Shiranui spell that everybody like to run is that the fact that it's like, it depends on your opponent, it's locked you into zombies. I know that there's technically another card on normal summon that lock you into zombies, but I rather not have a card that just like, it's like that and it's so taxing. Just summon one monster out of the deck with this card. I know that like you want to have this cards anyway, but it just felt like not really good because it's also dependent on your opponent. At least when it comes to Squire, even if I'm like, this is the only thing I can do, I can still activate it. It's something that can happen all the time, even if I'm going first. In a case of Story, it's only happened when I'm going second, and it's already kind of like become irrelevant, which I rather have this instead in my hand, or any other kind of like, you know, capability to break boards. But that's pretty much does it for the spells, and then for the trap, the only trap is this. It's pretty good. Banish, or should I say tribute a zombie, pop 2, and then banish a Shiranui, and activate its effect. Most of the time it's going to be, Spirit Master to pop a 3rd, but the ability to have a more flexibility with this card, or sometimes like maybe your opponent only summoned 2 monsters, and you're not able to pop the 3rd or doing something, you are able to banish something like, for example, Squire, and then get a draw on a discard, which is pretty cool. So this card is very self-explanatory. But that's pretty much does it for the main deck. Now we'll move on into the extra deck. And for the extra deck, pretty simple. I'm going to start with the links. Linkaribo, the Masquerena, the Hakifibrax, the Sucker, the Savior, the Unicorn, and this card, which is Yukiona. This is basically the lineup of links that I decided to run, and I want to explain these because I know that there are some people with some questions. Basically, this, and this should not have any explanation. Linkaribo is because Glow Up Bloom to get it off the field. Hakifibrax if you're able to get 2 tuners. Or should I say, like a tuner and a non-tuner, you summon this, you get the Glow Up Bloom from your deck, and then you're able to do like kind of like the combo with the Formula Synchron. You know, the usual thing with the Formula Synchron, which is pretty good. And then you have these two because it's a zombie deck. As for the 3 others, well, I want to explain them. IP Masquerena is for the off chance that, how should I say this? You're able to open up with 2 monsters, not both of them are zombies, and not one of them is a tuner, so sometimes the dangers do put you in that spot, but it rarely happens, but the option to have that is pretty good. Plus, for the fact that, like, sometimes you are able to go into this, and able to go into a Masquerena with the Glow Up Bloom before you send it to the graveyard, because you have another extender, so you're able to make this, and then get this with the Sun Saga effect with, like, you know, the usual thing, and then this turn into that, which is also, like, a board breaker by itself, which is pretty good. And then this card. This card is more here because of, like, respect for the card. This can be any link 4 that you want to link to or whatever, but I like this card a lot in this deck because you are able to make this quite easily, actually, if you want to, and you're not able to go into the Hakifibrax. Sometimes you are able to just, like, make this instead. And this is a very strong card. Very underappreciated. Can be anything else that you want to. I just want to have a deck that can run this card. Very nice to have the ability to deal with 2 effects in the graveyard. It's very powerful and very cool. So yeah, I like this card a lot. But that does it for the links, and then for the synchros. Formula Synchron I already mentioned, Omega, Samurai Saga, Squire Saga, Shogun Saga, Sun Saga. These are the synchro monsters I run. Honestly, some of these are just in theme, but some of these are not. Like I mentioned before with the original Spectral Sword, basically, if you already have Glow Up Bloom on your side of the field, you summon Spectral Sword out of the deck, and then this is the tuner that you summon with Hakifibrax, which giving me the ability to set up for next turn, that's why I also have Squire Saga, because it's 2500 that you can summon with a Greater of Ease. It's pretty good. Squire Saga is actually pretty good as a card by itself. If you're able to banish a tuner, a fire, zombie, and a synchro monster as a whole, you basically buff your monsters by 300 attack, pop a spell and trap, and pop a monster. But in general, it's like only going to be pop a monster and pop a spell and trap, which is still pretty good. And then this card is just an OTK engine by itself, and then this card is the card that you summon out of your extra deck because of the Synchron. So this is literally what you do with Hakifibrax. And then Omega is just the additional way to maybe do something if you have the additional extenders, or if your hand is not the best thing in the world. Definitely can be switched around for something else, but I just like Omega because it's so iconic for this deck, so that's why I decided to run it. And then for the last two extra deck monsters, I don't think I need to explain. Super poly targets, this for the zombie world and this for the, what are called? Dark monsters. Now, of course, these could be switched. This one definitely not, but this one can be switched for whatever you see necessary. And honestly, having two super poly targets at the very least is very, very important. But that's pretty much does it for the deck profile as a whole. Honestly, this deck is pretty simple. The Shiranui is probably the most important part to explain because the rest is like kind of like a weird version of Zombie World because that's how the deck unfortunately works. Because I tried different engines and different things, like I said before, and honestly, the only thing that like super worked is Zombie World, and that's why we're going with Zombie World. So yeah, I do like this deck still as a whole. I'm just going to say this right now. I want people to understand that that's the reason why I went with Zombie World. But that's pretty much does it for the list. Hope you enjoyed, and now let's move on into the next deck choices for you for next week to basically, choose from and ending up the video. All right, so for the next deck choices, let's talk about them. So basically, for the next week or so, I'm not sure if it's going to be next week or 2 weeks, I'm going to handle either Blue Eyes and Fluffle together or one of each in each week. Point is, Blue Eyes have been requested a lot by a lot of you guys, so I wanted to do that. And also after the ban list, when LP getting banned, I think it's a good time to do it right now. And then also Fluffles because it's been here for a while, and people also been requested for that one as well. I haven't decided which one is going to be first, but just to let you know, these are going to be the two next decks coming up. The other options for you to choose from for the week after that or the 2 weeks after that, we'll see how that will go, basically are going to be the two returning options, which are going to be Geist and Time Thief. And then the other two options are actually going to be two that I really, really wanted to do them for a while, and I wasn't really sure about them, but I think it's about time we'll do them, mostly because of the ban list, but also because of things that didn't arrive before. The other two options are FAs and what are called Dragonities, which are the two other decks that I want to do. So FAs, I actually have a very, very cool idea for it, and Dragonity, because I love Dragonity and it's after the ban list, LP got banned, I think it's a good time to talk about it. But that's pretty much does it for the deck choices as well, and ending the video. Yeah, pretty much it. So if you enjoyed, don't forget to like and subscribe. Remember, creativity is the key in this game. Have a good day, stay safe, and we're going to come back to normal schedule with also review and stuff because I needed to do our Arcana Nights before, as you've seen from the videos 2 days ago, because of, King's Court. But the next week we're also going to do the, what I call the Sherry LeBlanc Lafleur video, which people are very, very much asking me for. Hopefully. But yeah, that's pretty much does it for that, without me more rumbling. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.